Hey everyone, I'm Lisa and welcome to the absolute most awkward part of my podcast, which is the introduction. Hey everyone, this is Lisa and welcome to episode 14 of the Stop, Drop, and Knit podcast. I could not have planned episode 14 coming out on Valentine's Day, the 14th of the month, any better. I totally didn't plan that at all. It just kind of happened. Very much a coincidence, and I'm just gonna go with it. I have a bunch of Valentine's knits, WIPS to show you guys today. Not really a bunch, like 2, but festive. I have a jellyfish, an accidental jellyfish that I'm knitting, and a hippopotamus, and a Christmas knit. It's kind of a mix of everything today. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. I decided to get all festive for you guys, and I pulled out the Love Note sweater. This is a pattern by Tincan Knits, and I have already featured this previously. I think this is now my 3rd time wearing this on the podcast. It's a favorite, and I figured if I was doing a Valentine's themed episode that is coming out on Valentine's Day, I should probably wear the Love Note sweater. So it's a favorite. This one gets a ton of wear. I discussed this one in quite a bit of detail on episode 2. So I will go ahead and link that up in the show notes for you in the what I'm wearing section in case you are interested in finding out more about what yarn I used and which version of this sweater I wore. So let's move on to finished objects. I don't have any finished objects for you this week, but I do have a hoe. I have a half-finished object. So just really quickly, I had somebody ask in the comments just a day or so ago, what is a hoe? I am so confused. You've mentioned it a few times. What is a hoe? So a hoe is a term that I have stolen from Kristen from Valentine Yarns, and I don't know if she is the one that originally came up to it, but since she's where I first heard it, I'm going to give Kristen all the credit. A hoe is a half-finished object. So things that can be half-finished: socks, mittens, basically anything where you need to make 2 identical objects. So in this case, I have finished 1 of Owen's socks. And so this is the first time. I've got a bunch of little firsts today to share with you guys. But yeah, this is I just dropped the label. And this is the first time that I am knitting with the Regia Kids Pairfect Kids Colors sock yarn. So this is a sock yarn developed, this particular colorway is a Arne and Carlos colorway. And the idea behind these Kids Pairfect socks is that you have your ball of yarn, which mine, see, last week I told you it eventually gets very, very floppy. And pretty soon I'm hoping this does not become a tangled mess. But yeah, so the idea is that the ball of yarn starts with like this yellow yarn, and the yellow yarn is not part of the sock. As you guys can see, there is no yellow in the sock. So what you do is, this is their way to knit basically identical socks from a single ball of sock yarn. So by eliminating first the yellow yarn, so basically you start from the center of the ball and you pull the yellow yarn until you finally get to where the actual sock yarn color starts, and then you cut away the yellow and then you can cast on. And so you knit the first bit, you knit the cuff, And then as soon as the color starts to change, you cease knitting the cuff and go on to the leg of the sock until the color changes again. And then you can knit your heel until your heel is done. In this case, because I was knitting socks for Owen and he's got still pretty small feet, I still had a little bit of blue from the heel left when I started the foot. I could have cut that away, but I decided to just keep going. And I think it looks pretty spectacular. And then the yarn will change again and you knit the foot. And then I did cut the yarn here because obviously this is where the size of what you're knitting really matters, because there's no point in me knitting until it changes color if the sock is going to be way too big for Owen's foot. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world because he's 6, so eventually his feet would grow and he could wear it. But I want him to just be able to wear these right away and not have to wait until he's like 8 just because I was too lazy to cut my sock yarn. So once I got it to the length of Owen's foot, I snipped that yarn and then I pulled out the yarn until it started to change to the solid blue again, and at that point I knit the toe. So I have also started the second sock. I'm doing this on my size 1 Haya sharp DPNs, which is pretty much the needles I use all the time unless I've got multiple pairs going at once. But you guys can see I have about this much done. So I still have a little bit of ways to go before I get to that heel. But this has been my mindless project this past week. And let me just show you. So the bits that I cut away, this was all of the foot that I cut away actually before starting the toe. And then, so I mean, like, this isn't that much, and I can always save this to use for a different pair of socks or something. I'm not worried. I always have extra sock yarn, so I figure it's just kind of in weird smaller bits doing it this way rather than if I just like start knitting from a regular ball of sock yarn from like anybody else. And then this is how much I have a bit of a bigger section that I had to then unwind because I needed to then get to the same point to start my second sock so that it would then be identical. So I had to, I wound up my yarn around my finger until I found the yellow again, and then I kept going just until right beyond where that yellow ended, and then I snipped this off. So I've got this much yarn in between my socks so far. So I don't think that that's too bad. And last week I was telling you guys I don't tend to ever knit from the center of a ball because eventually I drop things all the time, you guys. Eventually it just, as you go through the yarn, it just gets floppier and floppier. And at some point, I feel like the inevitable tangled mess is just gonna start. So hopefully that won't happen, but we will see. So that is my only finished object for today. But guys, this is a little bit exciting because I don't know if you guys noticed, but I tried out a short row heel. So I have been saying that I was committed to trying out different heels this year instead of just always doing my slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset. It's just what I always do. And this was really easy and really fun. I do remember I have one other pair of socks that I used this heel on, but I just forgot about it. Like, I think it was from another pair of Regia sock yarn. It was not an Arne and Carlos one, and it was not one that like needed to be identical or anything. It was just like a variegated color all the way throughout. But I did use a short row heel on that, and so yeah, I did it here, and Owen seems to really like the fit. He very promptly wore this sock. I'm not kidding you guys. Like, if I finish a sock, he says, I want to wear it now, even if it's only one. So for like 30 minutes, he sat there with one sock on his foot. And then he gave it back to me so that I could have it for the podcast without it getting like totally stinky. He was basically just sitting on the couch, so he didn't really walk around in it. But it fits him really well. It's a tiny bit longer because he had started to grow out of his other socks. So I was trying to make sure that this would be fitting him, but wasn't too worried about it being a tiny bit on the long side. But I think that this turns out so cute. It's so cute. I really, really like it. So that is it for finished objects. We're gonna keep going with socks because I have a whole bunch of WIPS and I did cast on some socks for myself as well. So the tea that I am drinking today, my husband had to go into Huntington today and he brought me a Valentine's present. So every time he brings me tea, it is from Clipper Ship Tea Company. And at Christmas time, he had given me a really adorably cute little sampler box just like this. And it was like the Cozy Cat collection, which is perfect because I love drinking tea and knitting and having my cats around. And so he knew that he wanted to get me for Valentine's Day a collection of tea. And so this is called the Love Tea Collection box. And I am so excited to try all of these. So it says tea is inspired by love. Of course, I mean, it has to be love themed for Valentine's Day. But all of these sound absolutely delicious. The one that I am drinking is so yummy. This one is champagne and berries. And oh my gosh, when you open these packs, I'm gonna actually dig it out and show you guys. It's so good. So I'll go through all of them really quickly in a second, but the one that I decided to open tonight, so they come in these little tiny, how many grams is this? Each bag is 25 grams. And oh my gosh, just the smell. That's like one of my favorite things is just smelling the tea. But so you guys look at this. I mean, I know you can't smell it, but I can show you. So this is the champagne and berries. And so it's a loose leaf tea. This is the one I'm drinking right now. It has white tea, safflowers, marigold, raspberry, and natural champagne flavor. This is delicious. And then the other ones that come in here, we have Rose Bouquet, which is a rose, I'm never going to pronounce this correctly, just forget it, but Rose Kongu black tea, no idea. Jasmine green tea and rose petals. So that's the Rose Bouquet. And there's chocolate strawberry. I mean, I almost took that one tonight, but I didn't because it's black tea, dark chocolate, cacao nibs. I never know how to say that word, but cacao nibs and strawberry. And their recommendation is to drink that one with milk and either sugar or honey. So that sounds delicious. And then they've got in here Casablanca, which is an organic blend of green tea, jasmine green tea, lemongrass, rose hips, peppermint, apple, mango, calendula petals, and rose petals. That sounds lovely. And then is the champagne and berries, which I already talked about. And last one in here is passionberry, an organic blend of red rooibos, pronunciation, Lisa, I have no idea. The red rooibos tea, strawberry currant, strawberry, currant, mango, orange, apple, lemongrass, hibiscus, rose hips, and marigold. So all of these sound so fantastic. They do have a website. I'm not sure what is available on the website, but I am going to include that on the screen here in case you guys are interested. I'm sure that at the very least, if you're interested in this tea, you could probably call them up, and I don't know if maybe they ship. Really don't know. But thank you, Bryce, for my lovely Valentine's Day tea. It is so lovely. And I don't remember the name of this mug, but I will also have this linked below. This was a Christmas present. He got it from Clipper Ship Tea, but it is available like on Amazon and stuff. But what's really cool is it comes with the strainer, and you just brew the tea right in the mug, and it has a lid, and it's just perfect. It's like your own individual little tea system, a tea system. It's fantastic. I use this almost every single day. Basically every time I drink tea that is a loose leaf tea, I am brewing it right in this. So that is my little what tea am I drinking for today. Okay, I have a ton of WIPS to share with you guys today. So many WIPS. I was feeling very festive and just really wanted to get a bunch of Valentine's type things cast on the needles. Mainly socks because I do have a lot of test knits going on right now, which we will get to later. So I dug this yarn out of my stash because when I was searching for some yarn to use for one of my test knits, I realized that I wanted to snag this little red glittery sparkly mini from this Valentine's pair of socks. So I have actually stolen this for my test knit, which I'm going to show you guys later. So I'll talk about this in a minute. Whether I have any of that left or not will depend whether I use that for like heels and toes for this sock. But this is a Valentine's colorway from Knitterly Things from last February 2020. This is from her sock club, and the name of it is Sweetheart Remix, and it was a cherry red mini that came with it. So I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna snag the mini. It's Valentine's week. I may as well cast on a pair of Valentine's socks. So I actually just cast these on yesterday, and these are the most girliest socks ever, and they're fantastic. Check out these colors. So pretty. So the top one is like a very pale pink, kind of white speckled stripe. Not really a stripe, but section over here. And then is like a really pale pink section. I didn't even realize that this was a stripe at first until I got to the red and saw, oh yeah, there is like a light pink stripe there. And then there's a really, really pretty purple stripe. And then it looks like the next one is gonna be like this hot pink here. How girly is that? Very Valentine's Day. I mean, she knocked it out of the park in terms of like traditional Valentine's Day colors. I'm not like that into Valentine's Day. I mean, I like presents. I like chocolate. I like yummy tea. Not really into flowers because the cats eat them. I mean, my husband learned like really, really early on not to get me flowers because the first flowers that he gave me, the cats ate them. So it was pretty pointless. So I don't actually get flowers ever. Unless I'm doing a performance, special performance, and then sometimes I'll get like a bouquet of flowers after. But anyway, not super into Valentine's Day, but I do love all of these colors. It is fun. I do like to be festive a little bit. And actually, our Valentine's week, like Valentine's Day, it's okay. Like, not really. I could care less about it, you know? But he did propose to me on February 17th. So it is going to be like our, I don't know, maybe like, I forget how many years. We've been married for 7 years. So it's probably 9 years then since he proposed, I think. Something like that. Oh my gosh, he's going to laugh so hard that I have no idea. But I do remember it was February 17th is the day that he proposed to me. So this week it's a romantic week, even if not for Valentine's Day, for our own little reasons. But so I'm going to stick the name of this pattern up on the screen because I can't remember it offhand, but I wanted to do something a little bit different from just a regular vanilla sock. And so the pattern I'm using, there's not really a distinction at all between the cuff and the leg. It's just all a knit 3 purl 1 rib all the way down until the heel. I have knit this once or twice before, and it fits me really well. It's also, I have got really tiny feet, so this one uses 56 stitches to cast on, and that's a really good number for me. A lot of the times I'll do 60, but that, unless I'm doing a ribbed kind of pattern, 60 tends to fit me a little bit loosely because I have very, very narrow feet. So yeah, so I'm gonna see how this one comes out. Pretty sure that the heel for this one is just that like slip stitch and heel flap gusset. So yeah, so probably not gonna do anything fancy with the heel, probably just going to do whatever is recommended in the pattern for this particular pair. But I thought that was just a nice festive sock for this episode. Something else that I dug out from my stash and something I have never done before is knit from a sock blank. I remembered that I had this very colorful rainbow, and so it's like light pink with basically rainbow hearts all the way down. And so I just thought, you know what? I have no idea when I'm gonna knit this. I've had this in my stash for like 2 years, something like that. So I decided to cast on socks from the sock blank. I have not gotten very far. So in addition to knitting from my first sock blank, this is also my first time knitting 2 at a time socks. I've just never done it. I tried it once with a pair of socks that were going to be for Bryce, but they turned out really ridiculously big, and so I ended up frogging those. I never finished them, but that was also a while ago, so I didn't really know what to do it. But some sock blanks are double-stranded, so as you can see, this is unraveling 2 strands at a time. So what's cool about this is you can choose like to knit from this the way that I am, where you knit 2 at a time socks and you'll get 2 identical socks. So the other way that you can knit from a sock blank is you can just unravel the whole thing and just wind the two separate balls of yarn and then just knit your socks separately. But I figured, you know, I'm all about trying new things with my socks right now this year. And so I thought it would be fun to just knit directly from this. And I also thought it would be really fun to just have this to keep looking at as I was knitting. I mean, why would you unravel this when you could just look at it, right? So, okay. This sock blank, by the way, is something that I got a couple years ago during the Long Island yarn crawl. And the dyer is, I think her name is Jessie, and she is Yarn Over New York. So I will link to her shop below in the description box in case you guys are interested in seeing what kind of sock blanks she has or other yarns. I don't know if she still does sock blanks. I think she probably does. But okay, I know a lot of you guys have been requesting a bookshelf tour here, and so yeah, I think every once in a while when I have like relevant information to share with you from a book, I will. Whether I do a whole separate tour or not, I have no idea. But I did need to reference a book to get started with my 2 at a time socks. So this came off my bookshelf the other day, and this is called 2 at a Time Socks, and the author is Melissa Morgan Oakes, and it just says, revealed inside, the secret of knitting 2 at once on 1 circular needle. Basically, it's the magic loop method, but which I have done before. Every time you guys see that I have socks on a circular needle, it is the magic loop method that I am using. But it is with knitting 2 socks both at the same time. And so there's like a very specific way that you have to go about casting it on so that your socks won't get tangled and you can do both socks at the same time. So what's cool about this book is it's that nice spiral bound book so that it lays nice and flat when you open it. She has a bunch of patterns in here. I think I will knit one of these patterns with these socks. I'll bring it up and show you guys which ones they are. Just because I have all of these pattern books and I really should make use of them, right? Instead of just constantly getting my sock patterns from Ravelry or just knitting vanilla socks constantly. All right, here they are. So I thought that she's got a pattern in here. It's called Be Mine, and that is the sock pattern. And I thought that even though this is not a solid colored yarn, I'm pretty sure that as this unravels, it's basically going to be like light pink socks with like sections of just kind of speckled color. We'll see. But I thought that maybe that would work well for those socks. So I think that that's the pattern I'm going to try for these. But basically, at the beginning of the book, before she gets into giving you guys some patterns, she's got, a whole like sock anatomy, knitting a sample sock. But for her knitting a sample sock, she does it with how to do 2 at a time. So it's not just like, how do you knit a sock, do this. It jumps right into how to knit a sock, both of them at the same time. So I followed her instructions to get started on mine. So she gives very, very detailed instructions, which also basically covers the magic loop method as well. And yeah, and then, she just goes through basically instructions for knitting the entire sock with this method. Basically, once you cast on, you're good to go, I think, until you get to the heel. And then I think that you might need to work them separately. I'm not there yet, so we will see. But I don't believe that you can do the heel turns and all of that stuff on both socks simultaneously. But yeah, so the instructions at the front of the book are very, very, very detailed. It's like the first 30 pages of the book are like introduction and very detailed instructions to get you started on knitting 2 at a time socks. So this is what I referenced for that. I know that there are plenty of tutorials for this kind of thing on YouTube as well, but I did have this book and I figured rather than just search for like the perfect YouTube tutorial, I may as well try this out and see if I could follow it easily. And I could. So far I recommend it, at least for that. And after I knit up this pattern, I'll let you guys know what I think a little bit more about this Be Mine pattern. So yeah, so I'm kind of excited to be doing something just a little bit differently than my normal vanilla socks. And yeah, so there's a mini tour of one of the books on my bookshelf. Yeah, how many the patterns that are in here, I don't know how many there are, but there are some for kids, like babies, toddlers. There are some for women. There are some for men. So it's kind of a little sampling of sock patterns that could be used for anybody in your family. So that's kind of cool too. She didn't really leave anybody out. So yeah. All right, moving on. Okay, so continuing with WIPS. We're gonna backtrack a couple months and go away from Valentine's Day, and we're gonna go back into the Christmas holiday spirit for this next WIP. Okay, so you guys know that I'm doing several test knits, and this one sweater that I am testing for Stephanie Lotven of the Knit Happy with Self-Striping yarn book, she has released a pattern, or is releasing soon a pattern that I am testing, and it is called Garland. And it is a colorwork yoke sweater. I'll stick a picture of it here so that you can see. But the way that she has done it, she has given the knitter the option to turn the pattern into holly. And so I thought, you know, I really don't get around to knitting myself a Christmas sweater, so why not just knit myself a Christmas sweater right now? So I decided to do the Christmassy version of this sweater so that I will be prepared for next season. And I'm so excited to show you guys. I've only done a little bit of this, but it's in like that nice stage right now where I can stick my face through and have a little Christmas card moment for our guys. There we go. Don't I look ridiculous? It's at that perfect size, the yoke right now, where it just sits in a nice round circle. So, I'll just get a little close up. I've done the first 2 out of 6 little holly motifs. And yeah, I did decide to go ahead and use the, I had so much of this left over. This is my Wisconsin woolen spun in the color Oats that I used for my Noctuidae sweater test knit. And I had easily a sweater quantity of that left over. So I decided to use that for my base color. And then I don't really buy minis, but I realized that I have so much sock yarn from Julia from Knitterly Things, and lately I have also been getting the minis so that I can do contrasting heels and toes. And I have quite a bit of her yarn. So I said, all right, let me look through and see what I've got. So I already showed you guys that I had this red one, which is why I decided to cast on the Valentine's Day socks, because I wanted to snatch this mini from there. So I decided if I was going to do the Christmas version, then I wanted to do, you know, the little holly berries. And so all of these minis that I found have glitter spun in them, which I thought made it even just that much more festive. So I have these 3. I'm getting a shadow today. I don't know why. Oh, it's because my light's not really shining on me. Hang on. There we go. So I've got these 3 colors. I don't know like the names of the colors, but this one I snagged, and it's kind of a tealish green. And I snagged this from one of her non-holiday yarns. I think it was like a gemstone. Look at all that shimmer right there. So pretty. This one I snatched from a Valentine color, and this one I'm pretty sure is from like a St. Patrick's Day color. So I don't think I'm gonna have any left, but that's fine. I'll just knit those socks without a contrasting heel or toe. So yeah, so that's the status right now of my Garland sweater. And I just think that that is gonna be really lovely when it is all done. So there's, I'm gonna just keep alternating. There's 6 rounds of the holly. So the next one I do is gonna be the lighter green and then the darker green, and I'm just gonna keep alternating. And then there is a little bit of it on the cuff of the sleeve as well. So, all right, so we can get out of the Christmas holiday spirit now. And next up, you guys, I'm knitting a jellyfish. I am knitting a jellyfish. I can't really show you this one, but the state that it's in right now, I'm really liking it, actually. I'm really liking it, so don't think I don't like it. This is a test knit that I'm doing for Annie of Boho Chic Fiber Co. Yeah, I cannot show it to you that much, but I want to just hold it up, upside down and inside out. This thing looks like a jellyfish. It's a jellyfish. There are so many ends to weave in. There are so many ends. I have actually woven in almost all of them already. I am just not trimming them until I wash it and block it. Okay, so I wanted to get your opinion on this too. So last week I showed you the yarn that I chose for this project because I can talk about that. So I decided to use Lion Brand Thick and Quick, right? Chunky, like, what is that what it's called? The Woolies, that's it. The Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick. So I've got Fig, and then my next stripe is the charcoal and the eggplant, and then the licorice, and I think the last one is called, this one's called Blackstone. So I've got this Woolies Thick and Quick yarn, and the thing that I'm a bit concerned about with this sweater is whether the Woolies Thick and Quick is gonna respond to any kind of blocking, because it has 80% acrylic in it. And from what I understand, acrylic doesn't respond to blocking. I have no experience. This is my first time working with this yarn. I love how it's knitting up. I love how it feels in my hands. I said that I would let you guys know what I thought about wearing it as a finished garment. Because I really wanted an affordable yarn for this test knit project, because I'm doing a lot of them and I can't just constantly be buying yarn, and I didn't have it already in my stash. So yeah, so I picked up a bunch of this Woolies Thick and Quick, and this is kind of a cropped design, and I don't mind wearing cropped things to a point. I don't have that young 23-year-old body anymore, right? I have had a kid. Things have changed. It's not an area that I particularly feel comfortable showing off, but layering it the right way, it can still be a really flattering look. Like the sweater that I'm wearing right now, I did a cropped version, and you know, this is very cropped and it looks totally cute. But anyway, so what I'm concerned about is like the length that she recommended knitting for the cropped pattern. She does give you the option to knit to whatever length that you want, so I'm not concerned about that as far as like being strict to what she wants from the test knit. But you know, I can stretch it. I can't show you yet because I really don't want to show you more than I feel comfortable that she would be okay with. You know, stretching it out a little bit definitely adds a little bit of length, but I'm really not sure that that is going to stick in blocking. So I am, as I'm knitting this pattern, accommodating for the possibility. That's the word I was searching for. I am accommodating for the possibility that the length is not going to block out at all. And so I'm knitting it a little bit to something that I feel like I would be more comfortable with in case it doesn't block longer. And then if it does block a little longer, it's still going to be totally fine because it's still going to be pretty cropped. So that's the thing that I'm worried about with this yarn. So we'll see. Lots of things to discover along in this process. But yeah, so those are the 2 test knits that I am actively working on right now. I have 2 more coming. One of them I have not cast on yet, but I do have the yarn to show you today. So there will be a small acquisition section at the end of this video. But I do have another WIP because I have a bunch of WIPs now that I want to talk about. So we're going to move on to Knitworthy. Okay, so in addition to knitting an accidental jellyfish, I am knitting a very purposeful hippo. I have cast on the hippopotamus for Owen using the yarn that Owen and I dyed a week or so ago with Kool-Aid. I think I showed this to you guys last week, and I have a little tutorial up on this channel that Owen and I did on how we snow dyed the yarn with the Kool-Aid. I just think that this came out so beautifully, and I love how it is knitting up so far. So because this was a dyeing project that Owen did with me, I told him that he could decide what I should make out of it. And he asked me to make him a hippopotamus for his friend, his little stuffed animals, Bunny and Mouse, to play with. So like a new friend for his stuffed friends. So I cast it on the other day. I don't have too much to show you yet, but I have the snout. So this is like the front part of the hippo face here. But you guys can see it's knitting up so nicely. I think that the colors are just really cute. You know, it's a very girly color, so I think that a hippo is kind of the perfect little project to make from this. So the pattern that I chose is Lauren from Lolo Did It. It's her hippo mascot. I forget the exact name of it. I think it's called Roxie Hippo. And so it uses one skein of like any weight yarn that you want. And so that was perfect because I just have one skein of this. But she does also use a contrasting color. So I also have just one arm knit up so far. And so I thought that a gray would be kind of the perfect contrasting color. And of course I shopped my stash. Look at me with all these stash projects this week. So proud of myself, right? So I had this left over in my stash. This is ancient. This I must have bought like 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. I believe, I don't have the label anymore. I believe what this is an acrylic bamboo mix that when Vicki Howell had a brand of yarn at Michael's. I don't know if it's Bernard or Red Heart. I'm not sure. No idea. I do not have the label, but Vicki Howell at one point had a yarn line that was sold in Michael's, and this is what it is. And so I'm pretty sure that there's some bamboo content in here. And this is just left over from like a striped scarf that I made my cousin so many years ago. So I was never going to use this for anything else. So I think it's more than enough to use for the contrasting bits of this hippo. And I think that that's going to be really, really cute together. So hopefully next week I will have a finished hippo to show you guys, because I know Owen is pretty anxious for me to get the hippo done. So, but yeah, so I've got the snout and one arm. And, oh, that reminded me, I wanted to tell you guys. All right, so I have a video coming out, I don't know when exactly, in a few days. I recorded a video the other day. I was wearing a purple cardigan that is an alpaca blend yarn, and it was pilling like crazy. So I did a whole little video on using my gleaner to depill my sweater, and I wanted to show you guys. I got this is my favorite shade of purple ever. It's so pretty. But I got this whole big ball of fluff off of my sweater. And rather than just toss this in the trash, I decided that I'm gonna just use it to help stuff the hippo. So mostly I've got like this big bag of polyfill that I've been going through, and I still have plenty of that left, but I'm gonna also add this inside the hippo somewhere because I just didn't want to throw it out. I wanted to reuse it for something. And so I just thought that that would be kind of the perfect place to stuff it. So yeah. Bryce was asking if I could like respin this into yarn. I mean, maybe I could, but there's just not that much here that it's not going to make a yarn that is very long that I could really do anything with. So I just thought that the better idea would be to just use it to stuff inside the hippo. So that's what I'm going to do. So speaking of spinning, I didn't get a lot of spinning done this week, but I did finally finish plying the mess that I had plied incorrectly the first time. So I just wanted to show you guys really quick. This is what my correctly plied yarn is looking like. Yeah, so I was able to get like this bigger chunk of, yeah. I also still have, two singles that I need to ply. So it's slowly getting done. Hopefully I will find some time this week in between test knit projects to get these two plied together, and then I will be ready to set my yarn by soaking it, and yeah, and then I'll have another finished yarn. So that'll be really exciting. I cannot wait to get like until I have set it and I can actually show you guys the finished yarn instead of just talking about the mess that I made plying. If you guys are wondering what I'm talking about and you didn't watch last week's episode, I plied my singles, or when I spun my singles, I had set it down so many times for long periods that when I picked them up to spin, I accidentally spun the opposite direction of what I was supposed to be spinning. So then when I went to ply it, it was a mess. I also accidentally plied initially the same direction that I spun my singles, which you don't want to do because then you just get really, really overspun singles twisted together and not a beautiful plied yarn. So I had to undo all the plying that I thought that I had done. So I have finally undid. I've finally undone. I redid it. I replied my yarn the correct way. It is now all correct. So now everything that's plied is looking like yarn. And I still have two singles to go. And that's what I was trying to spit out. I guess we're gonna move on to acquisitions. I don't have a lot. Yeah, acquisitions. Okay, so last week I mentioned that for my other test knit that I'm doing for Annie, which I also can't show you what it looks like, but I can show you the yarn, so I'm gonna do that. I was trying to find yarn in my stash and it just wasn't happening. The colors of worsted weight that I had, either I didn't have enough in quantity or the quantities that I did have were totally colors that didn't look great together, which is kind of important when you're doing a color work sweater. So I did end up ordering yarn, and I have it right here. I got this off of lovecrafts.com, and they were having a little bit of a sale. And so what I ordered was these two colors of West Yorkshire Spinnery. And it is, so it's actually West Yorkshire Spinners, not Spinnery. And it's the Croft Shetland colors. Can't talk. The Croft Shetland colors, and it is 100% Shetland Island wool. And so I bought purple. I told you guys I do buy purple yarn. I just love it. It's a really deep purple. Let's see, this is called Quendale, and it is color number 727. And then this one is like a very light one with some purple speckles in it. It's an Aran weight yarn, and this one is called Klausta, and it's number 762. So these are the colors that I'm going to be using for my other test knit for Annie at Boho Chic Fiber Co. So I'll be able to show you guys this pretty soon, because both of her projects have very soon deadlines. The deadlines are very soon. The one that I am knitting into a jellyfish right now, that one, the deadline is February 23rd. So I think in like 2 more weeks, I'll be able to show you that one. And then this one is due like a week and a half after that. So early March, March 2nd, March 3rd, something like that. So you guys don't have to wait too long to see it, but I'm really excited to work with this yarn. I have fondled it many times in my local yarn shop, but I didn't buy it because I didn't have any like specific project in mind. So yeah, so when I saw it on Lovecrafts and they had a little bit of a sale on it at that time that I bought it 2 weeks ago, yeah, so I snagged it and I thought now's the time to try it. So that is one of 2 acquisitions. The second acquisition just came today, and that is my Sock of the Yarn monthly subscription to Knitterly things. So these are the colorways that came in today's mail, and I really like both of them. What I love about the sock club is that every once in a while I just get colors that normally I would not pick myself, but I always end up loving. You know, I gravitate towards purples and like gem tone colors, like jewel tone, like blues, like teal, green, and really saturated pinks. Not so much like cotton candy type pink, but more of like a fuchsia, magenta type pink, stuff like that. And then I get things like this that are so nice and lovely too. I need some brown socks, but you know, maybe my husband will get maybe this pair. I don't know. This one is called Hibernate, and I really like it. It's like different shades of creams and browns and gray with like a little bit of light blue in there. And then there's like this chocolate brown mini tonal, which is so pretty. So this one is the Sock Yarn Club. And then the other club that she has is her Remix Club, which is where she takes like colorways that she had done long ago and reimagines them into something new. And so this colorway is called Build Me Up Buttercup Remix, and it has an ice blue mini. And so those are the colors that are in this one. And so Julia's yarn is always self-striping, so it's just really fun. I never mind trying new and different colors in a pair of socks. It's just great. So yeah, so those are my acquisitions, and you guys, that is today's episode. That's all I've got for you guys this week. As always, thank you for watching. Please remember, if you enjoyed this video, to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and turn on those notifications so that you never miss a Stop, Drop, and Knit episode. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.